past when I try to create these kind of ethereal accents, like trying to create that the flowers float is not easy, because sometimes you can make the mistake that everything is very, how to say it, like not grounded.
Yeah, like too frilly, or it just, you get too busy, and that's easy, to happen, because you want more levels and you want more depth, and then you don't know when to stop sometimes, so then you lose a little bit of the feeling that you're trying to get. So he says, like, he likes all the whimsical frilly flowers, and I like the big chunky tropicals, and it's mixing the two has been something great, and we've been learning that you can really add to it by mixing the mediums and just the emotions. So that's what we want to go into today, and show you some really fun techniques and ways that you can kind of just start thinking about your designs, about how you want to just elevate kind of just the emotions and the feeling that you get when everything comes together. So we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
so let's get into it.
That's our subject, of course. So first of all, let's start understanding a little bit how to create these kind of accents. What we have to do, which steps we have to get done so we can achieve this kind of appearance. Well, first of all, we have to understand that the use of the line versus the use of the shapes of the elements that are composing.
Yeah.
Sorry, my English is not perfect, guys. I hope that you understand me, of course. The elements that are inside of the design, that they can, of course, complement each other. Another step that we have to be very sure to be very focused on the process of creating these ethereal and floating effects is that we have to create a negative space very, very carefully. I remember when I was a student, a floristry student, my first teacher in floristry probably taught me the biggest lesson for me in my way to see the floral art, that it was that the negative spaces need to be as beautiful or even more beautiful than the positive spaces. So to create holes, to create empty spaces in a design, and to get that appearance of those arrangements is beautiful, is not always easy. So we have to keep a special eye on that, and in this way it will be easier to create this kind of effects.
Yes, so we've got lots of different techniques to show you today, and our first design is going to be a hand-tied bouquet. We're going to show you, Lottie is actually going to be sharing all the materials and flowers with you, all the names, everything. So don't worry about that. We're going to be showing you some other stuff that probably you don't use every day, but this is going to be the first design. Just to have to explain this really quick.
Yeah, of course. Well, our first design is a hand-tied bouquet. So to create hand-tied bouquets, of course, is one of the most difficult challenge for the florists, because we have to create a perfect spiral, and then we have to achieve that the hand-tied bouquet stands by itself. And also to work with the hand is the most difficult process for a florist. So that's why this kind of work could be very difficult, but creating the right mechanic could help us a lot. So for creating the first mechanic, we will use this material that is baling wire. The gauge is 14 gauge wire. Baling wire, sorry. Here in Mexico, we get it by roll. In some other countries, you can buy it already by pieces, especially in Europe or in Asia. If somebody is watching us from those areas of the world, you can buy it already in pieces. Here in my country, I only can get it by kilo, actually, and in a roll. So this is the material that we will be using to create a very special armature that we have some videos to share.
Yes,
right?
So these are, they're intricate, but don't worry, we have step-by-step kind of like, he's gonna explain everything. We have pre-recorded so you can see the whole process. And this is recorded and it'll always be on the Teleflora education YouTube channel, so you can always refer back and, you know, pause and really take a look at what's going on and see how it's happening step by step. So
Yeah,
I'm going to share that with you now, how to start this armature.
let me play our first video. So we have it here, the process of the armature of our hand-tie game. So we have here our video, there it is. So the first step to create this armature for our hand-tie game, it will be to cut some pieces of baling wire. Of course, the measurement can change depending on how big you want to create your hand-tie bouquet. So the measurement is not really a specific measurement always. It can change, so don't worry about that. I don't remember which measurement we used. Do you remember especially? I think that it was 60 or 70 centimeters of length, but let me play so you can see. Of course, our first step will be to measure the length that we want to start the process for our armature. So you can see that I am using my drill to straighten the wire inside of my drill. I only have to put my wire inside of the drill, and in the opposite side of my drill, you can see that I use some wire cutters, of course, to keep in place the wire, and in that way, the wire starts to straighten by itself, and in this way, I can get a very strong and, of course, very nice baling wire. So we just straighten it, as you can see. After that, of course, before I forget, sorry guys, I got 10 pieces of the same length to begin. That of the measurement that we mentioned you. And I covered around 1 hand plus 2 inches of floral tape on one of the sides of my baling wire. So I will be using this piece of the wire to create the handle of my armature a little bit later. So on this step on the video, you can see that I am using a very cool tool that is the Kinsan, the Japanese tool for ikebana. So I use the Kinsan to shred the formium leaves to get a very special and delicate wire. You see, I only take my formium and I start pulling it against my Kinsan. And in this way, I get very nice strings, as I call it, strings of formium. And after I get the strings that I want, the width or kind of like the age for the strings that I prefer, I cut the ending of the formium to separate all the strings, and I will start using these formium strings to wrap all my 10 pieces of wire that I prepared previously. But of course, because the formium is not as long as binding wire, for example, what I will do is I will start connecting pieces of formium strings first. And after I get a nice length to be able to wrap all the length of my baling wire, I can start to wrap my wire. Of course, these wires are a little bit long, so to help myself and do it in an easier way, I will use a box, as we can see on the video. I will use a box to have kind of a third hand with me, and I will wrap a little bit of the formium in my wire, and I will go inside of the box on the opposite side of my wire, and in this way I start on the drill and I can wrap in a very easy way all the length of the wire just by myself. Of course, if you don't have a box, if you have a friend, a colleague with you, you can also do it in an easier way. So Don't worry about that. When I get into the point where my floral tape is, I only create a knot and my 10 pieces are ready. After my 10 pieces are wrapped with formium, I will cut 12 pieces more of baling wire again. This time, I will not wrap it with formium. This time, I only will wrap it with some floral tape. Okay, well, after I connect all my first 10 pieces of wrapped wires with formium, you can see I am using the floral tape to put them together. I will start adding the 12 new pieces of wire that I cut around the handle of the first 10 pieces, and I will do exactly the same process. I will use my floral tape again, and I will go around the handle that we want to create. So all the 22 pieces of wire are together. After that, I will start creating my armature, my structure, with the handmade chicken wire technique, but this time using this technique to create, of course, this armature for hand-tied bouquets. So what I do is I just bend 2 neighbor wires in my bundle and bend it in 90-degree angles and connect them by twisting them 3 times each pair. So, of course, I get 6 pairs of wires, and after that, I will start connecting again the right with the left neighbor and start creating this twisting, and in this way I can connect all my pieces. We can see in the video that what I will get is kind of a flower. So in the second level, I will just continue exactly the same process. I will connect the left with the right neighbor and twist them 3 times each. So I am able to create the armature of the size that I want. So for this example, I just used 3 levels of connections. You can see that the third level that I create, I cross a little bit more the wires, so it starts to get a round shape instead of a point shape. I only cut the excess of wire that I will not be using, and in this way, this step of the armature is ready. After I create the chicken wire in the bottom of my armature, I will come back to the pieces that are covered in formium and put them together using again just the formium. And on the length that is not connected, the wires, I will start bending them down, because in this way I will be able to connect some other things a little bit later, a little bit more decorative, and this will give me the chance to create more transparency. So here we can see the final armature, and you see it has a lot of movement, it bounces very nicely. And after that, I can start creating my hand-tied bouquet. Remember, for creating a hand-tied bouquet with a structure, we need first to start working on a parallel way with our stems, just following the handle of our armature. And in this way, we will be able to create a very strong axis that will help us to create and to get at the end of the hand-tied bouquet a nicer spiral, right? So you see, I add around 10 or 50% of the materials that I will be adding at the end of the process of my hand-tied bouquet in a parallel way. And after that, I will start adding my flowers in a spiral way. And in this way, my spiral will be even more pretty. Remember, we need to create the hand-tied bouquets just with 2 hands. With 2 hands, sorry, with 2 fingers, not with 2 hands, with 2 fingers, my thumb and my index. That is the right technique to create our hand-type bouquets, and this will give us a chance to get a more light and open appearance in this kind of work. So I will start adding, you can see this is not the final piece. Of course, we will show you in live the final piece, don't worry about that. So I start creating some groups of flowers, I start creating some different levels. You see that I try to work in and out, and this is the technique that will give me the chance to get a very transparent and light appearance at the end in my hand-type case. And we can also see that the armature gives me the chance to place the flowers in a very easy way. I don't struggle at all, it's very easy to place my flowers with this kind of armatures. And also something that is very important, we need to work from the inside of the hand-type bouquet to the outside. So what I like to do is I start working first with the flowers that will be lower in my piece. And let's go back to the front.
Okay, so before we unveil this giant bouquet, just let me show you really quick a couple of things that you saw that there was movement in the armature, and that helps actually with the ethereal effect that he was going for. And so this is one of the things that we like to add into a lot of works is dry materials are really popular right now. These pods, I know it was in fast motion, so you can see very clearly, these pods are in there. The wholesaler told us that these were cedar pods or dried cedar pods, right? But
yeah,
I don't know. I looked that up and didn't find anything like that. So if you guys, anybody knows the actual name of what dried pod this is, let us know. So that's one element that gives it another layer. We're still going for more, not just the floral. We're adding another final layer on top. And for the ethereal effect there, we're going with skeleton leaves. So these are just actually available most wholesalers, but we got these online. And they came, the size was a little bit bigger than what we wanted for the effect of this. So maybe I can show you closer. Show you a little bit closer.
Let's show the trick.
Yeah, so it's a full skeleton leaf, and we just wanted something a little light and even airier than this leaf. So I'm using bullion wire, this is champagne color, but other colors will work too. And what you want to do is just kind of pinch the middle together and just give it one single twist. It's pretty delicate, but that works. Kind of like you're going to start a big loop bow with your number 40 acetate wire ribbon, okay? And then pieces of the bullion, I would say probably about maybe 6 to 10 inches, and just alternate them. It doesn't have to be exact. Put that around the middle and extend probably about 1 inch or so. Take that and double over the skeleton leaf, and then you want to twist the leaf, not the wire first, because that gets it nice and tight for you a few times. And then with that little extra, about the inch that's sticking out, instead of cutting that off, you want to take the rest of the wire and wrap it around that little piece, so you just don't need to cut anything and leave it. And that little tiny minuscule detail actually gives you the strength to keep these up wherever you want them. That gives them a lot there. Okay, so that was our last element. And ready, moment of truth, let me see. He says it's got to stand up. So we're going to do that here in this low dish. And for something like this, you could use a larger container, but this way you can really see the spiral. Sorry, that's going. Okay, so it's coming over. Ready? Okay.
Sure, let's unveil the work, right? So we are coming here.
Ooh.
And let's place our piece here for all of you. So you see it's pretty big. Let's go on the other side, of course. And of course we can create this in a shorter version. Instead of the skeleton leaves, we can use, I don't know, more tripods or some.
So we got all these prepared. So
some
there's
little branches, right? So why not? Let's do teamwork.
Yes, but you should, it's actually not heavy. I know it looks massive and I am lost now and I can't see you guys, but it's because of the armature, it's so light. I mean, seriously, but here, I'll have him turn it so you can see the 360.
You see, also something important is some people say, it's always complaining that they cannot do very big hand-tied bouquets because their hand is not that big. I don't know if you are able to see, but let me show you. My hand is also not that big, so I am not able to hold all the thing in my hand. It's just the right angle what you have to be worried about to place inside of your spiral, and in this way you will be able to get this kind of bowl, right? So that is something very, very cool about these kind of boards. And let's add some more skeleton leaves, right?
Yes, another layer there.
Yeah, it's very easy, as Cindy told you already. We only have to wrap around the bullion wire, right? In the first wires that we create.
Just super easy.
Yeah.
Just alternate the lengths, whatever it feels like, and you can even leave that little, floaty little bit of silver sparkle that's picking up there. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just kind of angelic and bouncing. But while he's finishing up on adding another layer here, I know that somebody out there is gonna ask the price question. So I'm gonna just troubleshoot that right now. I know that this is a big ooh la la behemoth, and probably this doesn't come through your shop very often, something this size. So you get to wonder, when can I do this? How much would you want to charge for it? Well, what I would suggest doing, the shop that I was at in Vegas, we did hand ties all the time, and offering ranges on your website or just options in that sense helps you to, you can show this large picture and your customer could want maybe a version of it. So if you're in a time pinch, which happens sometimes in the shop, right? I do a mini, cheater version of the long, if you're not gonna do the whole size, the main part that helps, I don't know if you guys can see it, but is this here, which is the additional 12 wires that he added after the big waterfall thing that's happening out here. And that you can try very easily in your shop. You don't need the special wire or anything. It's just regular green fluorescent wire. This is 18 gauge, that holds really well, and green tape, and that's it. So I know you probably went through that really, really fast on that video, but if you just go back to the Teleflora channel, pause it, and get the part where he made this little baby, that's all you need. This helps so much. It's a good, just an alternative for if something that you wanted to do, it doesn't have to be standing like this, you could put this in a container, of course, for a 4x4, a 5x5, but if you start using this and just trying it, you'll see that it just holds half the amount of flowers, gives everything a lot more space, so you're using less product, and it just gives every flower its own space, and that makes a huge difference because you can see every texture, you can see all the elements that you're trying to add. You can do quicker little add-ons rather than all of it. You can give, just a version with just a couple like that. So, with substituting flowers or whatever, you can even make a $50 version of this. This is magic. So try it, give it a go, and let us know how it goes. But there you go.
Yeah, it's a very useful mechanic, actually. Of course, for this chance, for this opportunity, we of course create something more special for all of you. But just the wire work that Cindy just showed you, it's a very useful mechanic for an everyday shop. So let's continue adding some skeleton leaves, and of course, we decided to use these skeleton leaves because they are kind of translucent, right?
Yeah.
They are kind of translucent, and these help to get a more, of course, floaty appearance. Just imagine if you can use this kind of material and create the hand-tied bouquet probably just in white and green. You can very, very ethereal, right? Even more.
Even more.
So, I don't know.
Well, it might be a little bit hard to see close up. Do you want to just, I did a close up video so you can see all the extra details if you want to share that.
Yeah, sure. Let's try to share our final video. The design. Let me add the last piece. Always more. I love to add more transparency, more fluffiness. Why not? Let's go to our video and.
Guys, before we go to the video, we do have a quick question that I'm hoping you could answer. Actually,
Sure.
Stunning, gorgeous, and we're getting so many comments about it. Thank you. Any other ideas for things that you could use in place of the skeleton leaves that would still give it that ethereal look?
Yeah, you know, as I was mentioning, the dry product, we've been using that a lot lately. I mean, one thing which you'll see in the next design too, Nigella Pots, whenever we get them in, we just use them and let them dry. That's another thing that can get wired and kind of float. This is pretty special, I mean, as far as seeing the transparency of it. So I don't know about, I mean, what about like fabric or tissue or
But they can
other effects?
They can try to use rice paper. It can give a very nice effect of the rice paper, and you can use some wax, some paraffin, maybe. So that could be very, very nice. Of course, you can use just a very skinny sticks. That will be also a nice option. Of course, it will be different, but the nice is the skinny sticks will give also a lot of transparency. You can use, for the people that is more decorative, they can use some kind of jewelry, some beads or something like that. Of course,
Sparkle or
if you want some shininess on the piece and also some reflection, you can use some.
The possibilities are endless. You could do this with a lot of things.
Yeah, or if you are more natural, you can use some tripods, or you can use some craspedia to create this kind of work. Some hypericum berries also will give a very nice look. So the options are really like endless, right?
Yeah.
So let's show our final video. Right?
Thank you.
So yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's place.
Just so you can see it a little more.
A little bit more in
depth
detail, right?
into the bouquet.
So we are looking a little bit over there. You see, we are using some very special dahlias. Of course, the dahlia is the national flower of Mexico, so we have to use it and show it for all of you. And this very special variety of cosmos that I know that in some countries you don't have like this hot pink cosmos. So here in Mexico is pretty much one of the two varieties that we have, this hot pink, and we have one white. Of course, in this video, the piece is not finished, right? We finish it a little bit more with you, but in this way, you can see some of the details of the piece. And this will help us to get a better idea, right? A better idea of what we have created in the first piece. So I don't know if somebody have
more. Do we have any questions, Nadia, or should we?
No, please carry on. I just wanted to let everybody know I have dropped a PDF into the chat. So it's really simple. You just hit the little 3 dots beside it and you can download that. That is yours to keep. And you will have all of the hard goods and the flowers listed on there. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That'll help a lot. Okay, so our next piece that we're moving on to, this is something that can be used for, let's say, a restaurant, reception area, entry table, hotel, I don't know, gosh, other places. It's a real conversation piece. So this has a lot of options, and we're gonna get going and show you guys that next piece.
Yeah, well, some of the big challenges also of the tourists sometimes is to create some kind of pieces that can help us to use one and use it once, one time and another again. So this kind of techniques that we will show you actually is very, very helpful to achieve that kind of floral arrangements. So what I will be creating this time is, again, my baling wire. I love to share with the students how you can use the same exactly material in many different ways. Sometimes you don't need a lot of budget. You only need to know how to use the best way the few materials that we have. So what I create for this second piece is a technique by twisting two baling wires at the same time. And actually, this is very easy. So I only take my adjustable drill. That is very important, guys, to use an adjustable drill. If you use just a regular drill, you will not be able to create these kind of techniques as easy as we are showing you. So we only have to go inside of my drill, place the two pieces of wire, of course, in my drill. Be very sure that the drill take both pieces. And in the other side, we will need a plier or a cutting wire. And I will bend a little bit the opposite side of my wires. I will bend it down. So in this way, I have more strength in my hand and in my wire. I only take the drill and twist it. And there we go. Let me show you. Let me come close. And in this way, I get a very nice twisted wire. And I love to use this kind of mechanic because this gives me the chance to kind of create an invisible mechanic at the end. Sometimes most of the florists try to create, or they put a lot of time in covering their mechanics, and when we try harder, of course, sometimes the mechanic is even more obvious. So if you start to work a little bit less harder to cover your mechanics and just be very simple in the mechanic, at the end, it's actually easier to cover it. So this is the main technique that we will be using to create this fan. We chose the fan shape because actually it's one of the most traditional shapes that florists have, of course, and usually the fans are created in a very heavy way. So we decided to create something kind of more modern using this special shape. So
Okay.
let's.
So we'll do the video again to show the process, and that also takes a while, and I want to pause, but just to show you closer, we'll be going through it. We're using sword fern and just the spine. So these are all getting stripped. And this really light, delicate little, almost like a special branch or something, but it's really light and airy. So don't throw these out from your cooler when the foliage gets yucky or save these, they dry amazing. And you're gonna love this. And then also we have the dry Nigella Pots that I mentioned to a lot of here. So it comes, they can either be completely dark purple or they're kind of striped. So that's really cool. They dry perfect. So those come in and we don't even put them in water, just hang them upside down and dry them. And that's the other area that we're going there. So go ahead and show them.
Let's show our step-by-step video, guys. So here we have our video. So the first step, of course, to do this shape, it will be to have a ceramic container. Of course, it can be any measurement that you are able to find. I find this very interesting gray ceramic container. So after that, I will use my drill with a special glass drill bit, glass and ceramic drill bit, actually, to be able to drill, of course, my ceramic piece. Let's see how it's very easy. You have the right drill bit to drill your containers, and this gives you the chance to, of course, create a lot of different mechanics when you just know that you are able to drill the ceramic. I mean, for me, my life changed when I discovered that, so that's for me a very cool tip. And after we drill 4 holes in our container, 2 on each side of the ceramic container, I will start taking out the leaves of some sword ferns, and with just the sticks of the sword fern, we will be creating a mechanic that's kind of a Hanaku. It's also a Japanese technique. This is a more contemporary Hanakubari. The Hanakubaris are usually only of organic and natural materials. So on this one, you see I am using some binding wire to connect my sticks and create a triangle. So after I create a triangle, I will repeat the shape and I will cross the triangles into them and attach them together to be able to start my mechanic. This piece will be a little bit later, the mesh that will work as if I have inside my container a chicken wire. So what I am doing actually in the video is just to create a natural chicken wire with the sword fern sticks. That I think also is something very cool because you don't have to throw to the trash anymore your sword ferns when they get a little dry. You can just take out all the leaves and keep the sticks to create your mechanic. So I create this kind of chicken wire, as we say, and I place it inside of my container. And my next step will be to cut pieces of baling wire, and I will go inside of the holes that we create in the first place and bend the wire by half and twist it by hand just a couple of times, put it up, cut at the same level my wires, and I will put the wires inside of my drill bit and start twisting it very slowly. I don't want to do it very fast with my drill because, of course, I can break my ceramic container. So just be careful and patient to connect your baling wire in the. Let's go a little bit back. Sorry, guys. Let's see. There it is. Just be careful to connect and patient, and in this way you will be able to get the right strength in your 4 pieces. You see in our image that I already place the 4 wires on each of the holes, and after I place these 4 wires, I will create a separate piece, also twisted with the drill, and I will go to the 4 pieces that I connect to my container, and I will create kind of an arch with the piece that I create separately, and I will connect it just with regular black fluorescent wire, and this will help me to get on an easier way the shape that we are looking for. And after I connect 2 pieces on each side of my container to create this arch, I need to create more strength. So I will use 3 pieces in between the 2 arch to connect all the armature, and in this way it will be way stronger. So after it's connected, I will start adding again sword ferns in the top of the armature. First, I will attach it again with my regular fluorescent wire, or I can use also binding wire. And it gets into a point that I can start just weaving sticks in the armature to get a second mesh in the armature, and this will help me to hold my flowers in place in an easy way. And to create a more decorative appearance, you see that I start also attaching some of my sword ferns in the edges of the arch, and these sticks are just going up. I don't bend it or I don't attach it against the flat part of the armature. I just leave it more free to create this nice transparency and of course floating effect that I want. So when we want to create this kind of mechanics that of course are a little bit more modern, and we can be a little bit worried that how the flowers will be keeping on place, we only have to keep in mind that we need to create two connecting points in my armature. The first one, of course, was inside of my container with our Hanaku body, the first one that we create with the sticks, and the second one is, of course, in the arch in the second level of our armature. So after that it's done, of course, we can place the flowers, and I will start creating with the flowers a fine shape, not in a very symmetrical way. I want to create a little more asymmetrical appearance, and I will try to be very clean in the angle of all my flowers, so the fan shapes very nicely. So after we place some flowers, here we can see a little bit of the result that we get. There it is, guys. You see, here is movie magic. Huh? Movie magic, voila, right? How to work this kind of, let me go this side to be a little bit closer from you. How to create this kind of lightness on this kind of arrangement? Well, what we have to do is we have to work first in the lowest level of our design using the heaviest flowers or the biggest flowers that we will be using. So in this example, I start working with my roses, and then I also place some trachelium in the inside of the design. I use some dahlias. These ones are fubaki.
They're called red and white fubaki.
Red and white fubaki, right? Look.
Which in Japanese, fubaki means a snowstorm or a blizzard. So that was kind of cool. Here's the amnesia rose that he was talking about. Okay, what was the other thing?
And after we create that first level,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, the
Trachelium.
trachelium. Yeah, sorry. The trachelium also, you see. So those are my biggest flowers. So that's what I place in first time, of course, of the arrangement. And after I create that first level, I can start growing and growing little by little. So this create a more light appearance on the design at the end. Sometimes it's kind of hard for some florists to get this very light appearance in their works. So one also the key points to get this kind of airiness in the works, as we mentioned in the beginning of our program, is to have an eye all the time in the use of the lines. As we see now, I am placing some pampa grass. Of course, is the foliage of the pampa grass. And of course, the lines in first point of my armature that also helped me since the beginning of the piece to get and to create way more, how you say it, like transparency and an ethereal effect in our piece. And what I do is I use round flowers or multi-directional flowers to get that big element that is very, very important also when we want to create this kind of effect. If you only choose small materials and small flowers, usually at the end, we don't get the right feeling because it can look as if the piece is not finished. So I am placing some materials so you can see that it's very, very easy actually place the flowers in this kind of mechanic.
Okay, so while he keeps adding layers there, there's probably a lot in here that you can't see. So I'll show you up close. This is Godija there that's tucked in there. You have a cute little dianthus for Pham. It's called blackjack. It's really cute in there. You see, and white cosmos. But they have the white and the pink here, which I've never seen in the States before, but just the chocolate. White cosmos, and then you have salvia in here as well. Like I said, you guys are gonna have that list, but that's in there. Okay, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, but so
let's
as
roll
I'm
on
talking,
roll.
yeah. So adding more layers and the pampas grass, and he's going in there, but we were mentioning that this could be, you know, like something that is in a lobby or hotel. It's just many different uses, but you're probably wondering, you know, if you're going to be spending this much time on making the structure, how do you sell this, and how do you, you know, get this to be something that is usable? But as you can see, this is, I mean, it's super sturdy. This is so strong, this wire structure. And this, as you mentioned, this work burn dries really, really nicely. So this is something that definitely can be repurposed. And every single time you do it, it could be a completely different palette of colors, completely different variety. I mean, we could turn this into Christmas if we wanted to. So you know, if you're fortunate enough to have, let's say, weekly corporate accounts where you're changing things out, I would say in order, you know, to really get the labor cost back on this, I mean, plus the container and all that, you would switch them around to different locations, like when you change them out every week. And you can see as he's placing that it's super easy to do the refresh because it just comes right out. And we've got the, like you said, the top layer and bottom layer. So the weekly refreshes are super simple. And well, I mean, once you get tired of using them many times around town, I would even recommend bringing it back to the shop and maybe repurposing, maybe even doing permanent botanicals in it for a display, something like that. So like if any of you were able to catch Permanently Gorgeous with Cindy Toll and Jody a couple weeks ago, I mean, something like that, where the whole shop is just done with these phenomenal arrangements where they wouldn't necessarily think of it, but when they walk into your shop and it's like, oh my gosh, like, can I get that? You know, so something like this, I would definitely say that you'd be able to get a lot of use out of, and just if you're really industrious with it and spend the time to do it, you'll be able to get the cost back on this.
So there it is, because we have more to show, right? And of course, we have a final video, of course, to show you a little bit more in detail of the.
I think one last one that you mentioned. Did you mention this one?
Oh, the jasmine vines? No.
That's what's up here that you guys can see.
Yeah, we also some of the material that I add to finish the piece is some jasmine vines, of course, because I am using in this opportunity, in this example, a little bit more field flowers, so that jasmine vines actually help a lot to get a nicer appearance. So let's show the.
Yeah, let's do the close up so you can see
Show
all
the
the
close-up.
detail. It's kind of hard on this camera.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, right? And of course, I can keep adding and adding and adding tons of flowers and creating levels and levels and levels. But of course, we also need to learn when to stop and when to say, okay, no more layers. So here it is. I will find a video. Let's show it. You see that we have tried to be very careful to leave the line flowers and the most delicate flowers on the highest level of our design. So in this way, the transparency and all the elements are able to be seen at the end of our piece. You see that the separation of the materials is very important. Don't be afraid to use the length of the flowers. Also, something that happens a lot with the florists is that usually we want to cut everything very, very short. And actually, what it's most expensive in all our flowers, in all our materials, is the stem. So that's what we want to use. That is what we want to, of course, to be selling, because when my flower have a longer stem, my design can be actually even more expensive because it has better quality flowers. So remember, to create more ethereal accents, we need to use the line of the flower, that is the stem, and of course, to take advantage of the shape of the flower, that is actually the bloom of each of our elements. So this was our second piece, and let's go back to our final design, right, of the program.
Guys.
Do you have any questions on the?
Yes, we do. Sorry to interrupt you. We're just, everyone's just so mesmerized. On the last piece, do you have to build that on site, or does this the mechanic transport well?
It's so transportable. It's super sturdy. No, absolutely not. Like I was saying, you have that and you can use it and use it again and again, but make that ahead of time. You can build make the whole arrangement if that's what you mean. It's super sturdy. So yeah, definitely deliverable. I mean, that's not going anywhere.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I was saying that, I would just, if it's a weekly, something for a corporate account, just, bring stems that might be going down so that you can just refresh super easily on site, but that's all that's it. It's on site,
exactly.
yeah. It's just a
Actually,
deliverable.
probably what you only have to keep an eye when you transport it is, of course, to put a very low quantity of water,
And
of
then
course.
fill it when you get there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Fill it when you get into the place, and you will be able to transport this kind of design anywhere, right? On a very easy way, actually.
And since you
Of course,
touched on the
use a big bang.
oh yeah,
A big bang.
since you touched on the subject briefly, do you have any Leopoldo and Cindy top tips for how to treat the Cosmos flower? How are things lasting in that design and the first one you did?
Cosmos, you know what? It's amazing, and I don't know if it's just Mexico or what, but I did not believe him that some of these flowers last as long as they do, because they look so delicate, but that's one of the strongest wildflowers that we have here. I mean, the last time we brought them in, it was probably going on 8 or 9 days. Just
Sometimes
the recut,
15
yeah.
days.
And even when they came in and they were a little bit, dehydrated and kind of droopy, I mean, as soon as you get that quick dip, fresh cut, get the flower food in that water and let that really condition overnight with the right temperature, I mean, they perked right up and they lasted for so long. I really didn't believe him. That and Lysianthus, I would never use in Las Vegas because it would be dead in hours. I would never send that. But here, it's just, I think it has a lot to do with the humidity. But of course, the proper care and handling at all times definitely helps. But it lasts really well for us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, probably a tip that you can do for the Cosmos is to take out all the side shoots of the Cosmos. Just leave the blooms that are open, and in that way, your flower for sure will be for longer. Take out all the foliage and all the side shoots. Just leave the flowers that are already open, and in that way, the stems can be.
Yeah, so that when it's taking in water, it's not expending energy to go to all the little buds that actually aren't going to open, or any foliage. It just goes directly to the full bloom or two that are on there. So yeah, take all the little shoots off and it helps. And that works for dahlias as well, which we discovered. I mean, just overnight it got kind of sad, and then taking off all the side shoots, giving it a recut, doing that whole thing again. By the next morning, the full blooms were awake again. So they don't like to share their food source with the little siblings on the side. So if you do that, I think that you get a longer race life no matter where you are. So
they like to be the only son, the only.
Like to be the only child.
Thank you. And on the other side of the coin there, how long do the fern stems last around water? Do they have a shelf life before potentially rotting?
No, the stems, you mean like once they're in the design? I think,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they dry. So, I mean, if you have, we get lots of this in to do this kind of design because we like it. So we order a lot of it, but I mean, I've been in the shop where that kind of stuff, it just goes to waste in the cooler because you're not using a ton of, Yeah, that or leopard leaf, well, I haven't tried with leopard leaf, but it's not going to use in all the designs, so it ends up, the foliage gets kind of yucky. I would take that right out, strip it, let it dry, I mean, hang it, or even just lay it out, let that dry, and you can save that forever. Yeah, it lasts, and that, in that arrangement, in that armature, it'll just last. I mean, and if any of them get brittle because they're dry, over time, you can always replace them, but yeah, it just lasts forever.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, last one?
Good. We're ready for the last one?
Yeah, so let's talk about the last one.
Yeah, the last piece that we want to show you, it's actually something that we want to take the challenge, because when Tim asked us to create this subject, of course, of ethereal accents, our thoughts were immediately, okay, let's think how we can show to the people to create this kind of effects. And until this point, of course, everything what we have show and create with this kind of concept is using flowers that are actually easy to create that kind of effect, that ethereal effect. But something that is hard to use for this kind of effect is tropical flowers.
Yes, that's where I love the tropicals and he likes the wildflowers, but this is where the challenge comes in, and he's been incorporating a lot more tropicals, so I'm happy.
Yeah, of course. Also, this is something that I learned from the competitions, especially from the World Cup. After I competed, I learned that I cannot create only the transparency and the ethereal accents. I need the strength of the shape. So that was my best lesson in my floral life, of course. And using the tropical flowers is a very good way to get that strength of the shapes that we are looking for. So when you want to create this kind of effect, the tropical flowers, the use of the negative space is actually the most important thing that you have to keep an eye on it. So let's show the videos, let's show the process. Let's go to our final video, guys, to show you the last process that we have prepared for you. And actually, I think that is interesting because I have used this kind of technique to create very big installations. So this one, actually, when you will see it kind of big in your screen, actually, this is a small version of what you are able to create with the technique that we will learn. So let's go for it. So the first step is, of course, to have a plastic container that we saw in the first clip, and we will be using some bamboo stems. Of course, we have to cut it. To cut it, you can use a hand saw or an electrical saw. And after we cut it, we will go back again to our baling wire. And this time, what we will be using is just short pieces of the baling wire. And you see, I will use the baling wire as a connector in my armature. So I drill the plastic container through the whole thing, of course, and I will connect directly the bamboo stems to my container. So in this way, I am able to stand the bamboo stems without any other kind of mechanic. We will use, in this example, any other trick, just the bamboo stems and the baling wire. And of course, I will connect. Usually, I like to connect in 3 or 2 different points in all the length of the bamboo. I can go in a very low area of the bamboo stem, and then in the middle, and then I can connect again in the top area. So I want to start creating kind of triangles in between my bamboo stems. You see that we can connect as much bamboo stems as we want. We just keep doing the same technique. And of course, because we want to create a more special effect, I can put some bamboo stems actually outside of the container, and this will give me more depth, more transparency at the end, of course, and a more interesting appearance. So in the other side of the container, what I will do is I will drill some holes in the container and I will connect baling wire just by hand, and I will twist the baling wire that I connect to my container, and I will start connecting in between them in a random pattern my baling wires that I already attached to the container. This will give me the chance to create a very organic mesh with my wires, and this will get the function of keeping in place all the flowers that I will be adding a little bit later in my design. So I just keep adding and adding baling wire to grow that mesh. I need that the mesh is kind of thick. Of course, it depends on the kind of flowers that you are using. If you are using just like very skinny stems in your flowers, you will need to add more baling wire. If your stems are kind of thick, you can leave it a little bit more open. So after we get the quantity of mesh that we want in that side of our container, I will cut a round disc, of course, of cardboard, and we will cover it with some white glue and some dry bamboo leaves, is what you are looking in the video. Of course, we're using some bamboo stems, so to use bamboo leaves, it's what makes a little bit more sense. And we create like a very natural and unorganized effect with the dry leaves. And I will connect this round shape in between my bamboo stems. This is a more artistic piece, of course, as you can see, just to create more depth, and again, to use the lines and the shape to create that ethereal effect. So my last step, as we see, is to add some rocks in the bottom of my container, and of course, water, so everything can drink enough water at the end. So, of course,
Okay, I can't carry this one by myself, so you guys have to bear with us while we look at this one together.
Okay, you have to see all the process, and of course, this would be helpful, so you can see that it's transportable and movable, even without using some other kind of mechanics. So let's go to the camera and unveil, right, the last project. There we go. Here it is, our last piece. I hope you are enjoying, guys, that program. Let's keep in place this. You see, it moves a little, but it's very easy to pull it back. No problem. All those stems are just in the water with the baling wire mesh that we create at the end of the piece. So that is something very, very interesting, very important. And as we see, we can create that ethereal effect, that light and very transparent effect with even the tropical flowers as heliconias that are one of the strongest flowers, of course. And the shape that we create with the cardboard, you see, it gives us also a very nice resting point to focus in between all that fluffiness that we have going on in the piece. So it's very important to use that kind of elements in our final piece. As we see here, we use some Ethereals and some Santosoma leaves, of course. So I think that you will show them some
Yeah,
materials.
switch sides.
Okay, let's switch sides, guys, while I add a little bit more of materials.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see very well actually on this glare, but there's to add some really airy feeling here throughout the topicals, which is unusual, is it's just dried prairie. I can't say it. Prairie grass. So that's really light and delicate all throughout here. And he's adding some more of that pampas grass foliage, which gives another balance on that side over there. And this is what you're seeing with her. Over here on this side are these really cute, they're spider plantlets. So a lot of times if you have these plants hanging, you'll start to see these growing, but these are actually, we have them in the ground and they just start growing this long. They grow out and try to get to the ground and then try to root. So you get these really cute little plantlets that grow, and we love to use those. So that's what that is in there. Did you already show them the?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I have here.
Oh, this is another cool.
But you can show them,
Okay.
right?
Okay, so on this side, so he's adding the pampas grass foliage over there, which you can see is giving like lightness and bounciness to that side, but it's kind of offsetting it a little bit, making that kind of draw to, I guess that's my right side. So we're gonna balance that off on this side with another technique here. And again, we're gonna be using the sword fern stripped. So that's these little sticks that you see. I don't know, they're probably not very, but those, since they don't need any water, they're stripped, are just tucked and connected with bind wire into the heliconia florets here.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
give some funkiness here on the side. I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, and something that is very cool about the Craspeedias is that I am using the first baling wires that we used to connect the bamboo pieces. And what I am doing to get that appearance of the Craspedia floating in some areas is that I am piercing the Craspedia in that wires that help me as connectors in the first place. So also that is something very interesting. If we think of our mechanics in a functional and on a decorative way, we will get better mechanics. And of course, everything will be easier for you when you want to create this kind of designs. So let's add a little bit more of spider plants
So the
here.
Craspedia, it's actually, that's dry too, that doesn't need any water, and it dries in that same exact bright yellow color. So it's another product that we always keep and dry and reuse, and that's why it never cuts those extra wires that come out from all that drilling. Because you never know when you want to pierce something to have it float, which is a really cool effect, or if you need to hang something there, or if you need to use it as part of your armature to attach a flower or something. So until you're completely done and you're happy with everything and where all your flowers are placed, don't cut those. Those are little golden treasure spots to add some more ethereal accents, because they're almost invisible by the time that all this is put together. You don't even notice that anymore. And so also, Georgia.
No.
Oh, okay. So on the other side where I'm standing, where the majority of the flowers are, the mesh, which is holding everything together on this side, super strong with that 14 gauge and that organic chicken wire method mesh that he made. You're able to put the stems in, and that's why these big, strong heliconia are able to stand so sturdy, because you're able to insert them all the way down into the water, and then you can have at least 2 connection points to every for every stem. So everything is in place. It's not going anywhere. You saw us carrying this over. I mean, this in the delivery van. It's not going anywhere. It's so sturdy in here. And then so once you get more and more stems in there, that mesh kind of starts to disappear a little bit. You don't see it against the black container, but in addition to that, to kind of get it to disappear even more, repeating the sword ferns that we have coming out of the heliconia up here with that area effect, we're just going to take more and kind of start weaving it through the mesh. You'll be able to see that better in the close-up, but the more and more of this nest of a mesh that we're making, I mean, the whole thing just kind of disappears. So it's really cool because you can, have someone can walk right up to this in the lobby or at a hotel or something and look right in there, and it's just water, rocks, and really like a little nest. And you don't know how all these giant flowers are just standing in this huge arrangement. So it's really cool. And this big kind of solid shape that he did with the circle and the dried bamboo was what he was mentioning about having some solid and stronger shapes so that your eye can kind of rest as you're going through, and you've got all these ethereal floaty elements, the branches that are coming way out here, some areas where you can kind of just stop and look at the more, the bigger shapes and just kind of, take a pause. So that's why that's in there.
Yeah, of course. So we hope that you like it. And also, if somebody is asking for the money that they borrowed to you, you can use the design to hide, right? Don't see me, don't watch me, so you can hide in the design. So let's show that.
Yeah, so we
video,
also do have a close-up,
right?
so you can really see what we're talking about with these mechanics up close.
So let me go for our final video to show you a little bit more in detail. So we hope that these little videos are helpful for you to understand a little bit more the mechanic. Before I play the video, you see the mesh in that point is not completely covered. We leave it like halfway, so you can see how everything is holding in place just by using this kind of mesh. So let's play it so you can enjoy a little bit more the details of the work. So we have one side, as you were able to see, with the floral work more. And of course, we were looking for an asymmetrical appearance. So we tried to keep all the floral material in most of the part in that side that we are looking right now in the video. And in the opposite side, we tried to keep it a little bit more clean, just with the bamboo stems, to get that that asymmetry that we want to create for this kind of piece. So in there we can appreciate a little bit more the disc of dry bamboo leaves, all the crosspilia that I was talking about to you that I pierced on those little wires that you can see. Of course, at the end, if you don't use it, you just clip it and bend it a little bit, so nobody gets hurt, of course. When it's close to the design, it's something that we have to keep an eye. And the use of the negative space, as we mentioned during all our program, is very important. You see, it's very, very important to achieve that kind of negative spaces, and of course, positive spaces, and the holes, the empty spaces that you have, they need to be interesting so that people can get more attracted to your final piece. So this was our final video. So we hope that you enjoy it. Hello.
Oh, hi, Robin Rep. I saw your question there. The delivery of something like this. Okay, so you saw us carrying it, and I mean that there's no struggle there as far as like having it, be hard to stay together because it's so sturdy. So I mean, really, you do need a delivery van, because a proper floral delivery van. And I would say just with pegs and peg all the way around it, use bungee just to keep it from falling over when you run over a speed bump or something. But I mean, this is completely transportable. You do not have to do this on site. And if this is something that's going to be a weekly or monthly install, something like that, then refresh on site. But other than that, everything can be done at the shop. And so, yeah, totally doable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys. This is incredible. We have so enjoyed it. We have one question about the beautiful circular piece that Leopoldo, you tried to hide behind, but we can still see you.
Well, don't ask me for your money, please.
Can you just give us a quick overview of that beautiful circular piece?
Yeah, I mean, it was just to be really light. You could use a wood or something, but it would make the whole arrangement so much heavier because all of that bamboo that's already in there and the water that's in here. So we just use cardboard, and you can make it thicker if you want to, but I feel like, so I just did, got the right size that we wanted for the circle, and just drew the circle. I used an X-Acto knife to cut that out, and it's just regular white glue. And you can see that once we started layering the dried bamboo leaves, it just started creating more of like a three-dimensional effect. So you can do a disc if you want to, but I really, we didn't see that it was necessary because it was really three-dimensional shown in here, but super easy to do, and tons of dried materials that you can use to do this kind of thing. We did something last time with like lavender spheres, dried lavender, dried bougainvillea, dried rose petals, any kind of foliage that dries. I mean, you try it, just anything. I mean, it's kind of fun because we will always kind of think of new things to do with that. So
yeah,
it's super fun.
Yeah, and it's easier than it looks, fortunately.
Thank you so much, you guys. You really are true artists, and everyone was blown away. We've got so many comments, and I'll definitely share with you after the fact. But thank you so much for all the hard work. We love you so much, and your work is incredible. Thank you for sharing your talents with us today. And I know some of you who are watching had some challenges downloading the PDFs, so I'm going to put them onto our Facebook page. So please go over there that you'll be able to download them. It's Teleflora Industry Relations on Facebook. Thank you everybody for joining us. And before we all leave, please open up your calendars and mark in October the 19th, because we have another really special guest designer to present with us again on October the 19th. And we'll be sending more information soon, but keep your diaries free. So with that, I will say thank you to Leopoldo, to Cindy, to everybody for watching. I know we've had people coming in, getting up early in Singapore and staying up late in the UK. So we appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lottie. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Teleflora, for the
Thank you
invitation.
so much.